So that is one of the views that you get in Porto Cervo harbour. Enormous super yacht. Luckily, it's the only one here, because if there were more of those, as you often get during the summer, we wouldn't be able to have this racing going on in the harbour, would we, Corky?
No, it certainly leaves a pretty nervous mark for the sailors as they come down towards that leeward gate, and that's what their runway, if they miss the ley line or the drop doesn't come down clearly enough, you're heading towards probably the most expensive boat in the harbour with your bowsprit. So
yeah, it's sort of a rock or a hard place is a rock or a super yacht, isn't it?
And this is it. So looking at the sailors, they're all getting themselves pumped up. As you'll see, only 4 boats on that water, this 4-boat final. So, Andy, you know, talk us through a bit more of how you go out and win. What is this format for these 4 boats?
Yeah, I'm really excited by it because from our point of view and from your point of view watching, we know that whichever boat crosses the line, the finish line in first in the final race will be the overall winner. It's a really nice, straightforward format. It's also great in that Kreuzlingen, the Swiss, they won qualifying, and their reward for that is that they effectively carry a race win through, and it's the first team that wins 2 races. So if Kreuzlingen win the first race of this 4-boat final, well, that's game over. Tom Rug, who we're looking at here, and the rest of his crew only need to win 1 more race, and they have won the Sailing Champions League final. So that means that the other 3 teams, Esbo from Finland, Royal Danish Yacht Club and Flensburger from Germany, will be doing everything they can to make sure that the Swiss don't win this opening race, because if they do, they know it's game over.
Yeah, what an opportunity. Like, as we said, we talked about it like a poison chalice. It's sort of, you're going in with that win. That gives you the opportunity of just shutting the door on everybody else by winning this next race. But it does just put the target, a bullseye, clearly on your head, that if there's an opportunity to tack on you and give you a bit of dirty air and just shuffle you off that top spot, it's going to happen. So really exciting. Again, the race course still there, but half the number of boats. So a bit more space, a bit more wiggle room. But this is where a more aggressive tactics start to come into play. And you can see them all coming across actually on port tack and favouring this way at the moment as they're trying to jostle for position coming into the middle of the line.
We got 1 minute to the start, and we've also got Ollie Schwal on the water, founder of the Sailing Champions League. I don't know if we can get Ollie, but he's going to be our extra set of eyes on the water. We've got 50 seconds to go now, and the breeze is fairly soft at the moment, so they're going to need to watch where the next patch of breeze is coming from. Tom Ruger looking very pumped up there. He is the man in the box seat with 1 race win to his name already as we go into this first race of the 4-boat final.
Interesting there, sort of, again, becoming more like a match race with these positions, everyone trying to tee up, but right down in this bottom, not looking great at the moment for Kreuzlingen, sort of in this dark navy blue boat. They're being forced down towards this end, but looking to possibly get a tack in and come back across on port. That's exactly what they're doing, and we'll look for that clear air in the middle of the line.
So, Kreuzlingen starting on port tack, very unconventional, clearly wants the right-hand side of the race course. The Swiss think that there's going to be more breeze on the right-hand side. Flensburger Sailing Club, that's who we're on board with now. So the Germans, boat number 4, furthest left, and then Royal Danish Yacht Club up on their hip, right of our picture. Esbo Segelförening in the middle of the course, and in a good controlling position on the other 2 boats, but they need to watch out for Segelförening and Kreuzlingen, because if the right-hand side comes in and that boat moves into the lead, it could be game over before this 4-boat final has barely begun.
We could see them all, how they were positioning in that early stages of the pre-start. We're all coming across on port, quite interested in taking that sort of right-hand side. But I felt they got actually forced back over towards the pin. And you could see Flensburger Seagull Club being quite aggressive with their manoeuvre towards them. But actually what it's done is forced their hand to go out towards that right. At the moment, they look in quite a nice angle, but that breeze does look quite soft still out on that side. So at the moment, this is going to be a really important cross. But I think that right-hand side is just looking a bit soft at the moment.
It is. The angle change is looking better for the Swiss on the right-hand side. So they might just be coming back, but it's not going to be enough. It looks like they are slightly disadvantaged compared with Esbo, who are tacking to leeward, So it's a very tight battle between Finland and the Swiss right now, and then it's the Germans and the Danish that are still coming over on port tack. How are they going to slot in?
And this is it. They're going to try and drive them all the way to that line to then be able to take that tack. So you can see the aggression from the Swiss team being able to tack and try and hold that. But this is going to create problems for Thomas and his team as the boats come back across from starboard. They're not going to have the room to go in there, and they've had to duck. There potentially wasn't the room to go in there.
Possibly a penalty coming out of this. Let's wait and see. But that is a very, very tight rounding that we're seeing there. Esbo Segelförening in the lead, getting that Jenica set. And, there is a penalty. So that's boat number 4.
Club. But I also, there potentially could have been a penalty handed out to Kreuzlingen because they ducked really hard behind the back of that boat. That potentially didn't offer the opportunity for Esbo to be able to duck as well. But at the moment, seems it hasn't worked out.
So let's go out to Ollie and see if we can get the word from Ollie Schwal out in the water and see what he saw at that windward mark.
Yes, it was really an interesting upwind course. The teams, was a match race situation between Flensburg and Kreuzlingen, and they forced Kreuzlingen to go to the right-hand side of the course. But it, turned out that all the four boats rounded the first mark more or less at the same time, and then a penalty for Flensburg, which was really costly. But still, from my point of view, Kreuzlingen is in a pretty good position. They are really attacking now. But so far, the closer they get to the finish line, I'm pretty sure the Finnish team will be rounded the mark first. But even Flensburg got a fresh breeze up there, very close to the shore. But very, very close racing here. So
thanks very much, Ollie. It's looking really, well, there's only 3 boats, but it's still a traffic jam. It's amazing how 3 boats can make a traffic jam. But it's Segelförening and Kreuzlingen that manages to go round in the lead on this left-hand side of the course. So great sailing by Tom Ruger to move up into first place. But of course, we'll have to see how Flensburger is doing on the right-hand side, because Flensburger has come back from that penalty very effectively, and the Germans are already back in the fight despite having to do that 360 penalty turn. Corky, who would you like to be right now?
Well, I think sort of from Tom Ruger's side of things, that was a great manoeuvre. He basically had enough speed to be able to get in front, break that overlap coming into that leeward mark, which caused him to be able to get that tang in. Hit some really big waves there. We've seen he's been able to get that speed back on a bit earlier than the Royal Danish Yacht Club. So potentially that tack still is there, because at the moment, that's quite a tight gap to be able to get across. But suddenly that speed came back on a bit earlier after that wave. But again, as soon as you got the separation here, we're hitting that centre part of the course. That is the greatest width of that race course. So at any chance now, with both going into tacks, that breeze could do anything on either side of that race course. We can see that slightly darker patch over towards that right again. So is that right still holding that bit of extra breeze on the entrance of the harbour?
Ollie, who would you like to be right now? Would you like to be Flensburger or Kreuzlingen? I don't know if we can get Ollie, but I'm interested to get that out on the water.
They're heading off to the right-hand side of the course, which turned out in most of the races to be better. And from my point of view, they have a proper lead of at least 3 to 4 boat lengths. So after a penalty, rounding the first mark at last boat, now it's a really great recover from the guys from Flensburg, and they're currently in the lead, and they're rounding the mark with at least 3 to 4 boat lengths in front of the guys from Switzerland.
Thanks, Ollie. Well, that is an incredible comeback by Flensburger. How often do you see that? You take a penalty turn, it puts you to the back of the fleet, and somehow you get your way back into the front, because at the moment it looks like Flensburger is in a great position to be able to win this race, and it's really important for them and for the other boats in this race that Flensburger manages to keep Kreuzlingen behind them, because if Kreuzlingen manages to overtake Flensburger on this final run to the finish, then it's game over and we have our Sailing Champions League final winners, and it will be Switzerland. But at the moment, the Germans are doing just enough. They've done an early jibe. We've talked about the importance of an early jibe on this unpredictable racecourse. Corky, it looks like Germany have done enough, haven't they?
Well, there was quite a high angle they were coming out, and just looking over towards that left-hand side where that rib was tracking down, it looked quite light. But That was sort of what was coming from that camera angle, but suddenly that looks like a nice enough angle now that even with them jibing in, sort of, I would have said that's a nice, comfortable, just cross through to the finish. That's all that's going to matter for them now.
And it's surprising to me that the Swiss haven't actually jibed across, because the Germans are making that finish line quite easily, and when we last saw, the Swiss hadn't even jibed. So it looks like Germany has really pulled away. And it's, oh no, they were much closer than I thought they were going to be. So a much closer finish, but the Germans, they high-five, they keep the game alive for a little bit longer, but it was very close at the end. The Swiss nearly squared that away and won the Sailing Champions League final right there in the first race. Royal Danish Yacht Club, third across the line, and Esbo Segelförening, the Finns, are fifth across the line, but everyone had a moment in this race, didn't they?
Well, this is the exciting thing, and this is what's so great about this format, is that you've got the Danish and you've got the Finns just sat there kind of going, whew, you know, a bit of a breather, a bit of a wipe the forehead there, because actually, because of Flensburger Seagull Club coming in and crossing that line, it has kept this fight alive, and that's the best thing about it. You might not have won that race, but as long as that opportunity still is there to be able to take a race win, the racing continues. As we said, in this format, the most races you could ever have is 4, because each of the 3 teams could win a race, and the 4th one, at that point, someone will take that double win, because we talked about Kreuzlingen going in with 1 race win already, but now with 2 boats already with that race win, again, it creates that greater opportunity for them to seal the deal earlier in these matches.
Ollie, knowing what you know now, what would you be choosing on the start line of the next race?
Well, honestly speaking, it's really hard to say. I mean, look at the upwind course where Flensburg made this big gain, heading to the right-hand side of the course. They got a shift, they got more breeze in. But, you know, it's really hard to say. It's shifting all the time. At the moment, I would bet on the left-hand side. It's a little bit favored, the leeward end of the starting line, but it can turn back within a couple of seconds that, you know, the puffs and the gusts are getting through these channel, the entrance of the harbor, and then you have the right-hand shift, and then you are on starboard, and that means you have all the rights, and that's a really tough decision. I was really wondering if it comes again to a match race situation between the teams, because Flensburg, they didn't do anything to avoid that Kreuzling win, and it was funny to see that even these 2 boats were battling even to the very end. So it's really hard to say. At the moment, pin end, but it can change within seconds.
Ollie, thank you very much for that. Now, obviously, anyone watching this, along with us, we all love sailing, but the problem with sailing is you can never get from A to B in a straight line. If you want to go from A to B in a straight line, your best option is a Land Rover.
The new Range Rover Velar plug-in hybrid. The perfect balance of electric and luxury. Working together seamlessly in perfect harmony. Love it for its looks. And love it for its intelligence.
So, we're already into the 3-minute sequence for the race 2 of the 4-boat final. So at the moment, on 1 point apiece, it's Kreuzlingen who won the qualifying, and then Flensburger, who we just saw come back from the dead, come back from that penalty and last place to surge through into first place and take their first race win. Now it's a matter of can the other 2, Esbo Segelförening from Finland or the Royal Danish Yacht Club, can they put a win on the board, because it's time for them to start showing up. 2 minutes to go, Corky. Which side would you choose?
Well, again, as I say, sort of, we're seeing so big holes and patches sort of across that race course now. See that breeze coming in through that entrance, and we have seen that right-hand side being that little bit more favouritised. But off this start line, a lot of it's coming off this left-hand side, getting that left-hand shift. But you can still see the swell lines rolling in through the harbour entrance, and that is causing a problem. Now this breeze is starting to drop. positioning, when you're looking to tack, when you're able to put that jibe in, you are having to consider the water around you rather than just your positioning itself. So that's what's causing that little bit more of a trouble. I'd be pretty tempted to kind of be coming off more that mid part of the start line, maybe mid towards the right, and then be trying to hold that middle right sort of lane. But again, you can see how soft it is just dropping across this harbour side now.
Very brave of Kreuzlingen to start on port tack underneath the fleet, but it worked out quite nicely for them, and it meant that they broke away from the rest of the fleet, all of whom were out to get them, because at the time they were the only race winner. Now there are two that are on the cusp of victory. It's Kreuzlingen and Flensburger. The other two teams can't afford to let those guys win. We're in the final minute. Let's see where they line up. Personally, as it gets lighter, Corky, you know that as it gets lighter, I tend to prefer the pin end of the start line a bit more, because it allows you to put the bow down and ease the sails a little bit and get the boat speed going. But I tend to think once you're in clear air, that right-hand side of the race course is the place to be.
Yeah, and I still think with the space, with now 4 boats and not the 8 boats sort of bundling onto that line, there's a bit more space to not feel like you've got to sit side by side and be jostling for your lane too much. So there is a bit more give and take on that, but again, still critical that you hit this time and distance.
That's very true. So let's see, who have we got closest to picture now?
Flensburger Seagull Club are the one down towards the pin, with Kreuzlingen just up above them. The far end, it is the Finns. They come off nicely. So a little bit further back, the old Royal Danish Yacht Club coming off again, similar sort of tactic to what Kreuzlingen did going out towards that side. Bit late on it, so at least drop the boat length or 2 maybe straight off that bat there. But we can see a bit of battle going on now between these two boats that came off towards the pin end. But certainly looks like the Swiss have a bit more gas to them. They've got a slightly quicker wheels on them, and it look like they're going to roll over the top of the Germans here.
Yes, it does look that way, doesn't it?
They're trying to force that tack, so you could see them looking over that shoulder, just creating that gap. Go for that tack out.
What's Esbo going to do? Esbo could slap one on the Germans, but Esbo is going to carry on out to the left-hand side. Tom Ruger looking over his shoulder. He really wants Esbo to tack, but that's not in Esbo's interest necessarily. Esbo going to do what they want to do. While out on the far side doing their own thing, it's Royal Danish Yacht Club. Now we see the Swiss going into attack onto port tack. Let's see.
Oh, a big duck as well. You could see them not going to get away with that. So that's a big, hard handbrake of a move. And look how slow the boat's gone. And now with them tacking straight on top as well, they'll carry momentum out. That's a pretty big hit for the Swiss there.
It is, and you look how close they are to that ley line up on the left-hand side, and I was thinking, oh, that's a bit of a desperate move, but maybe actually they've gone so far that there really wasn't any other choice. But that was a painful, expensive manoeuvre for the Swiss, and it now puts Esbo Segelförening in control on this side of the racecourse. Is it enough to put them in control of the whole fleet? We'll have to see how the others come back together. Doesn't look like the right-hand side has worked out at all well for the Royal Danish Yacht Club. And it looks like it is going to be Esbo Segelförening that comes in the lead around this mark ahead of Flensburger. So Esbo, a bit of a slow turn there, not a lot of breeze up there. It was a handbrake turn that they had to go through.
Again,
fast.
Interesting sort of position there again because of how slow it is to get that kite going and losing that momentum. This gives the opportunity for the other boats behind to duck down, and you can see the actual angle and the speed being taken down by the Swiss team, sort of on the navy blue kite, just dropping soft to that. But the Danish, looking at their track sort of on the way up that wind, they did 2 or 3 extra maneuvers they didn't really need to. Could see that breeze going slightly light off that promenade, and then didn't access that breeze till a little bit later. But I think, yeah, that was a big move. So the focus still firmly on these 3 at the front.
Yes, and certainly not on the Royal Danish Yacht Club, who had to shoot for the mark and paid a heavy price for not quite judging that ley line correctly. Here's the jibe for the Germans, Flensburger Sailing Club.
No, that was Esbo, I think.
Sorry,
sort
that
of
was
just out
Esbo.
the
That
front.
was the leaders in the red boat. Yep, you're correct, Corky. So looks like they're going to opt for the right-hand mark as we look at it in this picture right now. It looks like it's the closer of the 2 marks. and they're going to be going out to the left-hand side of the course, and same for these two. The other mark just looks too far away right now for any of them to want to go for it. Maybe I'm going to be proven wrong. No, so Flensburger going all the way across to the other side, and they're doing it with speed. So it's a brave move, but we'll see how this works out for Flensburger. Interesting. I wonder if they sit a little bit more breeze on that side.
Yes.
Oh, what's going on? Penalty turn. Kreuzling, and what happened to them? Surely they didn't hit the mark on the way round. I can't think what else it would be. So that's not good news for Kreuzling, and winners of the qualifying now back in fourth and last place. Esbo Segelförening, they are going to be thinking very hard about Flensburger on the far side. That was an interesting move that Flensburger made. They hang on to their kite for longer. Let's find out from Ollie what he said, what he thinks from out on the water.
Well, to be honest, I mean, this was the only opportunity for the team from Flensburg to attack and to avoid that the Finnish team is going to win. And that they remember the last upwind course, the race before, the right-hand side turned out. The wind shifted like 20, 25, 30 degrees to the right from my point of view. It's a big shift. So it's very likely that it's going to shift back within the next couple of seconds. And looking from my perspective, Finland is taking force and back again, and Flensburg, they have really stable conditions. They are now in the harbor entrance. They have a really good breeze, and it looks like that I don't know if they can cross, but they are really, really close to the Finns. So the situation with the Switzerland team and Team Denmark, I haven't seen, honestly speaking. I don't know why they received a penalty, but now they are getting closer to the first mark, and it seems to be that Finland still has a lead of 1 to 3 boats length. They are now passing through, and they are now attacking the hoisted Jenneker, and they have a proper lead at really good upwind course. But Flensburg, I mean, it was right to attack. I would have done the same, but it didn't turn out.
Thanks very much, Ollie. And for a moment there, it seemed like the wind was going to shift sufficiently in Flensburg's favour to actually move them into the lead, which could have been a regatta winning move for them. But fortunately for Esbo and the other 3 teams, it looks like the regatta is staying alive a little bit longer. Could this be the Finnish team's first race win on the board? We could be looking at 3 teams all on 1 point each. Esbo Segelförening just need to hold their nerve down to the finish. Just throwing the mainsail into that jibe, getting that Jenneker cleanly through what will probably be the final jibe of this race.
And that's it, as Ollie was saying, is that was Flensburg's only sort of opportunity. Oh, they've lost control into that point and then gone into jibe. They're just trying to, no, they haven't. They're just trying to protect themselves into here with the Royal Danish sort of coming across towards that finish. But that's it. You've got to create separation on this race course. The only way you've got a chance. Again, it is about winning races. It's not a matter of the second, the third where you finish. It's all about winning races. And if you can create some separation that might present itself an opportunity to do that, that's exactly what happened. But real painful for the Swiss team. You can see sort of picking up that penalty of really kind of now just let off the accelerator and time to chat about it, talk about it, recompose and go reset. But now with 3 teams all with a race win, all pretty exciting. It's now sort of going to come down to the wire with these teams at the moment. And but again, nice to see the aggression through all of these teams, willing to push, willing to kind of think out the box, you know, from Flensburger being able to just suddenly take that jibe, heat it up, get across towards the other mark just to create some separation, think there might be some traffic around the other mark, think there might just be that. If they had that tapped into one more knot of breeze on that right-hand side, we could be looking at a different leaderboard. So again, creating that separation, creating the opportunities, that's what it's all about.
Ollie, why did Kreuzlingen drop so far back? We know they got the penalty. Maybe you can also tell us why they got the penalty.
Honestly speaking, I was so focused on the 2 leading boats, I haven't really seen it. Whether it was they touched the mark or it was his situation with the Danish team, with Royal Danish Yacht Club. but they received a penalty, and from then on, the team looks really frustrated. I mean, they had it on their hand, as we all know, and now there are 3 teams who can win, but I haven't seen the situation. But it was obviously a clear situation, so I accepted, and there was no discussion with the umpire. So, yeah, it's so close racing, you can't imagine. And the wind is dropping. I mean, this was the forecast of today, and we are out here, and you can see that the wind is really going down. And that means that, all these trends we haven't seen so far, that, the right-hand side is turning out, and even the shifts are getting much more. So will be a very interesting race. And what is definitely over now is this match racing, because now 3 of them are going to win. The only team who hasn't a win was Team Denmark from Royal Danish Yacht Club. But yeah, a very interesting racing, very choppy, and a lot of shifts. But yeah, let's see who's going to make it. I assume one of the 3 are going to make it, but I wouldn't really bet on one of them.
Well, or will it be Royal Danish Yacht Club, the only team not to have run so far, which would then take us to, it would have to be a final race beyond this one. We can only have 2 more races in this competition, and it could well be that it's all closed out in the very next race with any of these 3 boats from Finland, Switzerland or Germany winning the next race, or will it be the turn of Royal Danish Yacht Club to win theirs, and then we set up for a perfect 4 doesn't go into 1 scenario. There's going to be 3 disappointed teams at the end of it, and there's only going to be 1 winner.
Well, this is it. Every race that goes out, every team that gets that race win and gets them that step closer to being able to call it, it's that little bit of hope, isn't it? Again, it's that you're that little bit closer, and then if it all falls foul and you don't manage to convert that into 2 race wins, it's quite a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, and the sort of the mentality. I spoke to 2 of the finalists beforehand, and they both talked about how you've got to have fun with this. And I think what they mean by that is there's an element of luck in this. You can't get too uptight about the outcome. You've just got to do your best, and probably the best way you're going to do that is to have fun with it.
Enjoy
and just see how it plays out.
Yeah, completely agree. As I say, reason why you're here, this is your hobby. It's competitive, and yep, you want that. But at the end of the day, you love your sailing. You're in a beautiful location. You've been able to get racing in, even with the challenges that Mother Nature have thrown at us over the last few days. Being able to get this racing in the harbour, great. They're off, they're running. Now this is the opportunity to all really go for it. So Tom Ruger firing up his crew there, just getting them saying this is this opportunity now to go out. Let's make this our race win. Let's secure this. Let's put this all to bed and be able to celebrate this. But with 3 other teams all vying for that, 2 of them all with race wins as well, it's easier said than done.
So if you're enjoying this racing and you're not too bothered about who wins, then you should be bothered about the Royal Danish Yacht Club winning. They're in the yellow boat. That's the only way we're going to get another race after this one. So if you're a neutral, then that's the boat that you should be cheering for. Boat number 3 with the Danes on board. They've got to get a race win to keep this competition alive and to keep their own hopes alive. They've basically got to win the only 2 remaining races of this championship. They're going to have to sail a perfect regatta from here on to the end of the afternoon.
Yeah, so again, if we see that yellow boat at the front, we know there's potentially a chance for another race. If it's not, then one of those other 3 boats will be taking that title. So again, circling round towards this pin end, following each other, so a real kind of match racing, aggressive sort of style of racing, rather than just being quite content and sitting up over the other side. So we can see Flensburg sort of sitting up over by the committee boat, just trying to keep themselves away from anything else. But a lot of people quite happy to throw the gauntlet down, want people to feel the pressure.
And it's interesting that those 3 that we see together are all the race winners so far, and it's the boat on the left-hand side. I think it's the Danes closest to picture that are the only team not to have won a race so far. And as this breeze drops lighter, Ollie was telling us it's just getting lighter and lighter. Corky, I'm thinking more and more that pin end of the line is the place to be. I know I obsess about it, but I think that is the place to be, the lighter this breeze gets.
Well, it's that sort of what we saw yesterday, isn't it? Come off that pin, have a nice clear run, be able to put the bow down, be able to maximise speed. Look for that first left shift that allows you to get back across towards the middle top 2/3 of the race course, and then be looking at either coming back across on the right or being content to come in on that port side. So exactly that, but it is looking a lot lighter. That slop, that movement in the water is still there, as now you can start to see them jostle for position. But Kreuzlingen a long way back, and with this sort of period of time and this breeze, I reckon they've come a cropper here.
I agree. I mean, I want to be where the Danes are, so I think the Danes are putting themselves in a great position to be the early leaders of this race. We got 2 seconds to go. It's going to be a clear start. Kreuzlingen have no choice but to tack on to port, but it's a great pin end start. Thing is, have they got the other boats pinned up high enough? We already see Esbo tacking away, so we got 2 boats going out to the right, we got 2 boats going to the left. Flensburg also rolling into attack. How long will it be before the Royal Danish Yacht Club go the rest of the way?
Just keep going. Like, again, they're the ones that have got to create some kind of separation. They're the ones that have got to get this race win. And to be honest, at the moment, they've got clear air. They're keeping themselves out of traffic. They've just got to sail fast and a clean race. And if they can put themselves at the front, quite a harsh tack sort of going through, and not exactly a fast tack out of that one. You can see that breeze, but not even a crew member with their legs over the side. Looking at the other crews up there, there was more breeze. So I definitely reckon that breeze is still middle right. Got that little bit extra puff over there.
Yeah, did they leave that a little bit too long? Should they have gone with the rest of the fleet when the other boats tacked away? Well, let's see. It looks like the Danish boat's leaning over a little bit more than it was, but Flensburger Sailing Club looking dangerous right now.
Yeah, the angle they've got coming up through that middle look like they're going to get across the 2 boats to the right, and with the angle that they've got, it still looks like they're going to come back with enough speed against the Danish. But we'll see. Are they able to hold on to this little bit of pressure all the way up to this mark? The Danish do look like they've still got the wheels compared with those other 3 boats. This is their opportunity.
It's suddenly the wind caves in for the Danes. Are they going to get enough to be able to get across the other boats?
There's 1. There's 2 going in front of the 3rd. Are they enough on this ley line, or are they just underneath it? Are they going to be able to shoot it? Don't start trying to shoot it yet. Hold on. Keep that pace going. You cannot shoot it too soon, otherwise you're going to stall. You can see that jib just trying to hold on. It's not happy there. A bit of a header. They've had to ditch the jib just to keep that momentum to roll round. But they're round.
Amazing. So the Danes just managed to hang on. They get that Jenica up, and then they lean over dramatically, and the rudder nearly stalls as they hoist that Jenica. It's a good hoist from Flensburger straight behind them. So we got yellow and green. We got the Danes against the Germans, and then we got a bit of a gap back to the last 2. We've got the Swiss and the Finns battling it out at the back. So now the Swiss and the Finns will be hoping that Flensburger can overtake. But no, that doesn't help either, because no, they need the Danes actually to stay in front. I'm losing track of who's actually where in this situation, but if the Danes can hold on to this win, then everyone would have 1 race win apiece. It would be the perfect scenario, but we're a long way from that. We've still got 3 legs of this race to complete, and will the Danes be able to hang on? It's the Germans that have been early to jibe away. Now the Danes jibe, and they're in good breeze, so I think they're going to be in a good position to take the lead again.
And the bias at this gate mark, I'd say, is favoured. This near side one that we're looking at, that the Danish have chosen. Flensburg are doing the same as they did in that last one, trying to create that separation, trying to create it, but it's certainly nearer this mark by far.
Yeah, that's quite a high price that the Germans are paying to go to that far mark. And actually, this is playing into the hands of the Danes. If they can just get that kite cleanly away, which I think they managed to do, I think the Danes are going to extend their lead. There's this slop to break through. It's always sloppy here. Look, watch how the bow of the boat has got to plough through this chop. And that's partly the motorboats that are following the racing around. And they're going to be looking anxiously over their shoulder at Flensburg, wondering if Flensburg can pull back the distance on them on the right-hand side. So now it's a matter of where is the best breeze coming from.
So from what we can see, Ollie out on the water, how does it look out on that right or to the left? Where would you be positioning?
Well, it's an interesting split. I think the reason why the last upwind course the Danes didn't were able to pass through because he lost the main sheet out of his hand, and the really unlikely situation when they were getting closer to the mark, they lost the main sheet, and this was cost them about one boat flank, and this was exactly where they lost probably the lead. And now Flensburg are heading off to the right-hand side, and from my point of view, it looks much better there. They have a good breeze up there, but the Danes are getting back. So the only chance for Flensburg is now to attack. But the Danes are getting back here. There's a little shifty to the left. The pressure is back. And now Flensburg, it shifts back. So I think Denmark is still in the lead. There was a big discussion, by the way, at the first upwind was because the Danish Jennaker, they touched the Finnish boat, but I think they've been a bit of lucky because none of the jury saw that. Flensburg was shouting like hell, but nobody was witnessing that. So Denmark is in the lead with along like say 3 to 4 boat lengths, and it seems to me that we're going to see another race where 4 of the teams can win as we had it last year.
Quite incredible. This is just the perfect scenario that we're teeing up for, because at the moment, with just the final run to sail, it's the Royal Danish Yacht Club that are fully in the lead of this race. It's hard to imagine that even the comeback kids on Flensburger will be able to take the race away from the Danish at this stage, but they're certainly having a go because they're straight into a jibe set. Might as well try something different. So the Germans, they're never afraid to try something different on these race courses, and it often works out for them. So they're just playing the odds as best as they can, and if the Germans get decent breeze on that side, which they have done, then they could start making the Danes sweat again.
Well, it's exactly that. That's all you've got to do. Yes, second, third, fourth, all matter and stuff to the boats that are going to finish second, third and fourth overall. But at the end of the day, that's not where you want to finish. You want to finish on that top spot, and it's all about just creating some separation, creating that opportunity where there might be that little bit of an extra gust, might be that 1 knot extra. They look like they're a long way towards that right, and we've seen that go quite soft in that early stage. So whether they're able to hold that breeze, but again, nervous times for the Danish as they come down here. They're in, I would say they're in a more secure position, and now we can see, even though the jibe's coming across, that distance isn't going to be clawed down.
No, so Royal Danish Yacht Club, the last of these teams to win a race, are just about to secure that race win, and they are setting us up for the perfect scenario. They've stayed alive, and they've kept the regatta alive for a little bit longer. So we congratulate Henrik Jensen, Thomas Hartvig, Niels Gramkoy and Jeppe Black Lundahl for winning that race. And then Esbo Segelförening, they get ahead of the Flensburgers, who chanced their arm on the far side, almost beaten into last place by Kreuzlingen. But it was worth the go by the Germans to do what they did. It was throwing all the chips on one number, but they might as well have done it. They were doing the whole fleet a favour by trying to challenge the Danes. But we now have that absolutely perfect scenario, Cork. You couldn't ask for better.
This is the fairy tale, isn't it? This is now every single boat you see out on that water can win this championship. And it will all come down to whoever crosses that line first. That's as simple as this story can be. Whichever of those 4 boats crosses the line first in this next race will be crowned champion of 2021 Australian Champions League. Now that's a pretty amazing thing, and why this format works so well. They've been able to hold on. It has stretched it to its absolute fullest length, and now this race is the highest stakes round that we could have ever had.
And we talk about momentum in sport. Who do you think's got the momentum right now?
I would say Flensburg seem to have found a good bit of sort of ground. They're willing to, again, push all different areas of the race course to just secure that race win. They're certainly not going out and, okay, we're in second here, okay, never mind, that's the end of it, and so on. We can see Thomas Ruger pretty infuriated about something. And again, going in after that overall side of things, he was leading. Now, the pressure firmly on. Any of these sailors can take this race win.
Now, this is all about taking risks at the right time, but you only take risks in sport when you don't want to take risks. You don't want to, out in the big wide world, the only way to be safe is when you're driving a Land Rover.
The new Range Rover Velar plug-in hybrid. The perfect balance of electric and luxury. Working together seamlessly in perfect harmony. Love it for its looks. And love it for its intelligence.
It's fun to sail at the YCCS, and you can do anything that you need to enjoy, and you can sail around all the boys at the YCCS, and that's what they're about to do in the final race of the Sailing Champions League finals. We've got 1 minute 15 to go. Corky,
Exactly that. So, 4 boats all entered this final 4, all chasing down the Swiss to try and get a race win, and every single one of them's done it. And so this race now, 1 minute to go to the start of this race, and whoever wins this final race is going to be crowned champ. It is as simple as that. So nothing is going to be left unturned. They're all going to be out for each other.
40 seconds to go. We're on board with Tom Ruger and the Swiss. And this is Flensburger Sailing Club, not afraid to take some risks. What risks will they take to win this final race and to become overall champions in the Sailing Champions League final? They're looking pretty late into the start. The whole fleet look like they're a little bit nervous.
I'd have said the Danish may have picked up a penalty straight away there. They look like they infringed Kreuzlingen, and that's where it looks like they're jibing round, whether that's part of the penalty or whether it's to bring themselves back to the start. But they all look pretty messy on this start to come away from it, and actually looks like the Swiss and the Finns coming off this end with good sort of speed there, but Flensburger going out on the other side with speed, so a nice split.
And even more turns for the Royal Danish Yacht Club. That is absolute disaster for them. We've seen Flensburger come back from a penalty earlier in this series to win a race. Are the Royal Danish Yacht Club going to be able to follow up their race win with another race win? Well, at the moment, that looks highly unlikely.
Yeah, really interesting where the rib is here as well for Esbo. They're getting quite an impact from sort of the back of that rim stuff, and they're holding there. But if we look at that first cross coming in halfway up, that's going to be critical. And Flensburg seem like they've come out with a nice sort of bit of breeze, and they're going to hold. And obviously they've got the starboard advantage, so that could be enough.
Esbo coming out to the left all by itself. We've seen the power of the left as the wind has dropped lighter. It's tended to come on a little bit stronger, but at the moment it doesn't look like it's going to be enough for Finland to cross the other two in the middle of the racetrack. At the moment, this is a battle between Flensburger and the Swiss Kreuzlinger. And at the moment, I think I would rather be on board the German boat. But Ollie, on the water, what do you think?
Well, definitely. I think the Germans now have it on their hand. They're on the right-hand side of the course. The Danes got a penalty right immediately at the start, so it's really a battle between these two. So looking from now, definitely Flensburg has it all in their hand to round the first mark in a leading position, but it's really close. So it's not a boat length, it's just 1 to 3 meters between them. But they definitely can make it. But we shouldn't underestimate even the Finnish team. They are still in the game, really closing in there. So they will, all three teams will round at the same time. And even now Switzerland has to pass behind the team from Finland. So it's now, all in the hand of Flensburger Segelclub.
Flensburger go round in first place, followed by the Finns, and then the Swiss in third, and the Danes still with some catching up to do. All the Danes can hope is that the other teams are getting in each other's way to create a bit of a traffic jam. We're looking backwards from Flensburger, the race leaders, and Esbo trying to get down the inside of them, trying to get into a position where they can hold on the Germans from jibing, and I think maybe the Finns have achieved that.
Yeah, looking at where that bowsprit is and stuff, they look like they're quite happily and pushing themselves down those next waves and trying to create that break. You can see that bit of swell, but certainly from where that bowsprit is, there is no jibe at the moment for the German team. They're going to be held there, but then they'll obviously, if they can pull off a good jibe, they can still hold that inside line into that mark. So this is where they're going to start getting twitchy. They'll start looking at each other. They won't want to give it away when they're going to chuck that jibe in. So again, the Germans going soaking slightly deeper to allow them a tighter angle to come up in this lighter breeze. But will it have broken that overlap? Will they be able to hold their overlap into this mark to gain mark room? That's the question. I don't think they have. I think looking at the angle, they're coming back up, or are we going to see a repeat of what they did in a previous race and head straight to the other mark? With the kite, how it's powered up, looks like they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we see Flensburger taking the risky move again. Is there better breeze on the right-hand side to justify that move? You'd think so, the way that their boat is laid over. And actually, the Finns in the red
Big
boat.
left shift.
Oh, look at that nasty slop that the Finns are having to weather as they come through this side of the racecourse. Tom Ruger now rounding in third place, and the Royal Danish Yacht Club still playing catch-up after those penalty turns off the start line.
So if I was Esbo, I would have taken that opportunity to crack out towards that side, but then look to be getting back a bit earlier and trying to keep myself in. I'd want to be slightly tighter to where the Germans are now. I don't know whether I'd want to create too much of a split, because when there is this much on the line now, it's not a matter of kind of going, I'm looking for an opportunity. It's actually, I want full control of the situation. It's like a match race. You're just now not trying to separate yourself away. Yes, you've got to consider boat number 3 and boat number 4, but the focus is on that. If they can control them coming into this mark, then this is their opportunity to be able to hold on to that position.
Ollie, they're converging. There's a convergence between Germany and Finland. Who do you like at the moment?
Well, honestly speaking, I didn't understand the move of the German team. I mean, it was so obvious that the other side of the leeward gate was not favored at all, and they had really trouble to get the Janaker in, and it looked quite good for a couple of seconds, but Finland is like 30 meters ahead, and even the team from Kreuzling probably will cross in front of Flensburg. So they put everything on one cart, just attacking, but they were so close to the Finns, they would have another upwind course, so there was no reason to do that, and I think this was a really costly mistake, and now the Finns are really far away, and I don't see any of the other boats attacking them. Unlikely that at the downwind so much changes are going to happen. So it looks to me pretty clear Finland is in a very, very well proper position, and very good spinnaker maneuver here, and from now on they just take it down to the finish.
Esbo Segelförening well around that first mark in first place. Quite a gap back to the next boat around, which is now Kreuzlingen from Switzerland, then Flensburger, and then Royal Danish Yacht Club. So just a jibe from the red-tipped spinnaker of the Finnish boat. They decide to go for an early jibe. They're not on ley line yet, so there are more attacking maneuvers that the Swiss could yet play on Finland. Finland just decided they wanted to get across while they could. And maybe they think there's better breeze out that way as well. So Switzerland still have an opportunity to attack.
Yeah, I was about to say they're going to just put themselves in that defensive position, put that jibe under them so they can always lead forward and be bow forward on them. So a really clever defensive manoeuvre from the Finns there to get themselves across. So now, as these boats come back, they can bring themselves again. It does put you at risk, of course, of any breeze coming round either side of the race course. But looking at where they are, I think you'll see a jibe go in straight away now. And that's a gap that they're going to hold through to that line.
Finland execute their final jibe of this competition. And time is trickling away for anybody else to be able to take this race win from Esbo Segelförening, who are about to cross the line in the lead of this final race of the Sailing Champions League final, and that confirms that Esbo Segelförening are the champions 2021 here in Porto Cervo. Congratulations to Lucas Carlemo, Victor Mesterton, Anton Eklund, Emil Lindblom. Incredibly well executed race. They managed to get down the inside of their rivals on the German boat on the first run. They got it into a controlling position, and once they got in control, they never let go. So not only have these guys won the Nord Stream race, the offshore race 1,000 miles through the Baltic Sea, they are true masters of every aspect of the sport of sailing, because they have just won in the short course competition here in Porto Cervo, the Sailing Champions League final. What an amazing double that they've achieved, Corky.
Oh, absolutely superb. You know, the one thing that I think is really just pressing is that holding your nerve through the whole of that sort of series, holding it through all of that final bit, getting that race win was all important. But then it's suddenly playing out through to that final race. You know, the Royal Danish did an amazing job by taking it all the way to that final race. But to hold your nerve all the way through, a great race. As we talked about with Flensburger, just seemed a pretty off-the-cuff left field kind of guess of what to go about, and seemed a massive distance to travel, but just absolutely phenomenal. An amazing race from these guys, and they've managed to string it all together. And as you say, combine that with the Nord Stream regatta, and what a sort of performance.
And Olli Schwar, what do you think about the double win of Esbo, both in the Nord Stream race, another race that you organise, and the Sailing Champions League? Have we had that double before?
No, we didn't have that double before, and we are right. I'm nearly on board of the Finns, and I would like to make an interview with these guys, but it's not so easy here because it's pretty crowded here on the water with all these ribs. So probably we can have an interview with them. Let me double check if this is doable.
Looks like you might be close. Let's see if we can get that boat to slow down. We're watching them doing circles around you.
What a race! Congratulations! How did you do that?
I don't know. This feels so amazing. So amazing. I'm so happy for us.
I'm really happy for you guys as well. I mean, after the Northern race win, another win here at the Champions League, and it was so close. You can't imagine. So what was your strategy? How did you manage this?
I mean, we have a team that works well together. These conditions inside here, shifty, that's what we are used to and what we like. And I mean, we found the right way and went it hard.
And about the conditions here inside, I mean, we had no other choice than sailing inside. Was it okay for you?
Yeah, it's really okay. Of course, it's quite similar to our home waters, as we are always sailing close to shore inside many islands in Finland. Of course, it would have been nice to go out sailing in the waves and tough conditions outside, but we're pretty happy inside as well.
It was fantastic to see, and congratulations, was really amazing. Good job, guys.
Thank you.
And back to the studio.
Thanks very much, Ollie. And interesting that the Finnish team talk about the similarity of conditions to sailing at home, just off the rocky shoreline of Finland in these enclosed waters. Maybe that was part of their success here, Corky, being comfortable with uncomfortable conditions.
Well, some of the things that have been said, if you take a general overview of what a lot of the sailors have said is, be relaxed, enjoy it. We've talked about being on shore and enjoying the environment and just not getting sort of wound up about it and just being able to jump into a boat, go for a sail. What happens, take the rough with the smooth and so on. But again, yes, if you're comfortable in your environment as well and it feels similar to home, then obviously that gives you that little bit of advantage. It makes you feel comfortable with the environment that you're sailing in on top of everything else. Well, we talk about home team advantage. Well, Costa Esmeralda didn't really pull that together and stuff on their regatta, but very similar conditions to what they have in Finland, and they've seemed very happy, very relaxed through the whole regatta, and managed to turn it on when they've needed to in that final race.
So, in the end, Esbo Segelförening, they actually win by 3 points, strangely. So it's all the drama of that final race. But let's just look at who also finished in the other podium positions. In the end, it was the Swiss that came through. They were second and almost challenging for the race win in the latter stages of that race. They end up second overall. Flensburger end up third overall, and the Royal Danish Yacht Club, unfortunately for them, end up with fourth. So it's a disappointing finish for Royal Danish Yacht Club, having won the previous race, but that was all done for them at the start. They had that, it seemed like a double penalty. There was a lot going on for the Danes, and just when they needed it the least. So really hard for them to come back from that one.
Yeah, it just shows, even though there were 4 boats on that line and a bit more space to move around, they were all risking a little bit more, willing to push the boats that little bit harder, and they ended up just trying to get across, make across that was unable to, and that picked up a penalty, and it did look like that they ended up having to jibe round because of that, to try and bring themselves back to the start, but that was because of bringing themselves back to the start, and then a penalty got applied from there.
So that's the conclusion of, it was going to be a 4-day regatta. It wasn't quite that because it was too windy on day one. It really was super windy at the beginning of this regatta. It was still pretty windy later on, but then the Yacht Club Costa Smeralda managed to get that special permission for having the racing inside the harbour. That's never been done before in the 50 plus years of the history of Yacht Club Costa Smeralda, which we tend to associate with the much bigger boats anyway. I mean, these are dinghies compared with the size of yachts that you tend to see come into Porto Cervo. So this is big boat Mecca. This is big boat central. It's been an absolute privilege for us and the J70s to have their competition here, and particularly inside the confines of the harbour when potentially it was going to be hard to have any kind of racing out to sea at all. It was a tricky race course, but the patterns, you can start to see them from our position up in the commentary box. It's way harder to do it out on the water when you've got so much else going on around you, isn't it, Corky?
Yeah, we're pretty lucky with all of the technology that we've got involved, and drones and everything else from that perspective. When you're on the water, it's a lot harder. You're also trying to juggle about 4 or 5 other things at the same time. And so from that, it's easy to just miss certain things, and then we're not adding any pressure, we're not adding sort of any intensity, the noise, the spray, the sort of movement around, so that changes the perspective, full stop. But the Yacht Club Esmeralda have done a superb job. Like what could have been a regatta that could have fallen foul of Mother Nature, and we've all been to regattas like that. We could have seen no racing whatsoever. So having that special privilege and the permissions given to be able to race in the harbour is really special. Obviously there was that desire to go out and that constant, we want to be out to sea and want to race on that race course. But at the end of the day, they've done 10 flights of races. Everyone's enjoyed the races, everyone's pushed hard, and then we've stretched the actual final to its absolute max, and we've come out with worthy champions at the end of it. So what more could you want from a regatta at the end of it?
Yes, absolutely. So the other 3 teams will be licking their wounds, but in the end no one can have any complaints. That regatta played out as far as it could, with each of those teams taking a race win in the finals. But congratulations to our eventual winners, Esbo Segelförening. They only have a few minutes to wait, along with the rest of us, for the prize giving that's going to take place on the steps of the Yacht Club Costa Smeralda. We don't hang around here, so do stick with us for the prize giving. Meanwhile, you can look at the results for yourself on sapsailing.com or sailingchampionsleague.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram and YouTube. There's a lot of content there. You can look back through how this regatta was lost and how it was won. But thank you for watching. Thank you to my production team sitting with us behind us in the production facility here next to the water. Thank you to my co-commentators, Ollie Schwal out on the water, Mark Corky Rhodes sitting next to me, Andy Rice, that's me. I hope to see you again for the next Sailing Champions League final. We don't know yet where, but we know it's going to be glamorous for 2022. It always is. But congratulations for the final time to Esbo Segelförening from Finland winning the 2021 edition of the Sailing Champions League final. Goodbye.